In Japan, it seems if you don't join marathons, marathons will join you.
They would even go so far as to stick out their own stomachs or put books under their shirts. One drinking party I went to a year ago, a Japanese woman said I looked like Bluto from Popeye. As I waited for my turn at the starting block, a random Japanese man came up to me and poked me in the stomach, laughed and said to me, "Are you really going to run?" Yes. I will run.
I have to say, that phrase aged extremely well. Hello, yes, I ran a marathon in Japan. What an insane experience. Here's the full story. I gave myself roughly 6 months to train, signing up for the Kochi Ryoma Marathon September 7th, 2023. During that summer, I had been running sporadically and meal prepping, but I hadn't been very disciplined. It was more something fun I did with a friend. Once I signed up for the marathon, the responsibility of training was placed squarely on my shoulders alone. I would have to run, eat properly, and get healthy sleep. Nobody would run the marathon for me, or carry me to the finish line, or choose healthy meals for me. I would have to put in the effort and work for myself. Every month, every week, and every day. I would have to build my discipline and will, and consistently train properly, and if I didn't, I would fail. It was do or die, just how I like it. My marathon journey was difficult, and I faced plenty of obstacles. I had to train hard. To me, this was more than a marathon. This race was personal, extremely personal. 6 years ago, I was a 300-pound man who laid in bed all day and watched YouTube like it was my full-time job. I ate entire boxes of ice cream, devoured whole pizzas by myself, skipped university classes, and did the bare minimum work. I lived like this for 4 years of my life, and although I managed to scrape my way through university, living in such a lazy and disgusting way, I hated myself all the while. There was a part of me that knew I should be better, but there was also a part of me that wanted me to eat myself to death. A death befitting the kind of loser I was. I knew eating so poorly and being so lazy was killing me. Part of me was terrified of the slow death and diabetic mutilation I would subject myself to if I continued. But that demonic part of me, the worst part of me, didn't care. He even welcomed it. I'm admitting to something so personal for a few reasons. The first is ownership. It's powerful to own up to your flaws and shortcomings, to take responsibility. This is who I was. It's also part of who I am. I'm not proud of it, but I'm proud of who I became from it. But also, I'm far from the only person to have this struggle. Joe Rogan said on one of his podcasts, "Young men live lives of quiet desperation." There are countless people who were and are just like me, who right now are in the same position I was. You rarely see or hear about them because it's a quiet desperation. It's a lonely, bitter, self-loathing existence. It's shameful and weak. It's not something you are proud to tell the world. So, what caused me to change? I developed an ideal. I had a goal. Since I was first introduced to the JET program, I was given hope. I was inspired. I envisioned a hero in my mind, a legendary teacher. He was a version of Tanner that was funny, energetic, and patient. A person who made the best of bad situations and wasn't afraid of making mistakes. A person who was responsible, disciplined, healthy, athletic, smart, charismatic, funny, and handsome. A leader, a good man, a brave man, a better man. I envisioned myself becoming that hero and being that role model for my students. I started working to become that hero even before I joined the JET program. I'm not that hero now, not even close, and I never will be. It's an ideal I will always be working toward. So, I have high standards for myself. I can't cut myself slack. I refuse to listen to that demon king of sloth. I refuse to give up. And it doesn't matter if other people do or don't believe in me, because I don't need their belief. It sounds stupid and cliche, but I believe in myself. I choose to be better. So I trained alone, outside in the rain, snow, and blazing heat, running in the dark, running so much I watched the moon wax and wane and wax again. So much my feet blistered, so much I wore out a pair of shoes and jogging pants. I ran so much my nipples bled on 3 separate occasions. I even twisted my ankle and injured my knee, and I had to bike a couple months to heal. On top of all the running, I mixed in biking and weight training into my daily routine. And through all this suffering, you might ask, were you happy? For most of the time, no. But there were moments I was happy. It was usually the little things, watching sunrises, a compliment from a student or a teacher, a hot, tasty meal I made for myself after a hard run, seeing the progress every day, how I got leaner and stronger, seeing the workouts and runs stack up, the feeling of momentum my work gave me. This made me happy. It made me feel proud. But this kind of lifestyle comes with a choice. The previous version of Tanner was an extreme introvert. He never knew or cared what fun and pleasure he was missing out on at parties. He'd rather just do his own thing. And now that the current version of Tanner knows how much fun parties can be, and that he's capable of participating, he doesn't want it. It's a strange sort of character growth, but I suppose it's the difference between being unable to do something and being able to do it and choosing not to. I have something better to do than party. I wasn't training so I could one day go back to partying, just like I wasn't exercising so I could go back to eating junk food. The choice was to sacrifice those things in order to get better. To run a marathon, to get better, not everyone has to be so disciplined, but this is the way I had to do it. A way that I could prove my worth to myself. Prove that I was getting stronger and faster and better. And to do that, I needed to work hard and sweat and suffer. I want to read my favorite poem by Edgar Albert Guest. It's called Proof of Worth. Though victory is proof of the skill you possess, defeat is the proof of your grit. A weakling can smile in his days of success, but at trouble's first sign he will quit. So the test of the heart and the test of your pluck isn't skies that are sunny and fair, but how do you stand to the blow that is struck, and how do you battle despair? A fool can seem wise when the pathway is clear, and it's easy to see the way out. But the test of a man's judgment is something to fear, and what does he do when in doubt? And the proof of his faith is the courage he shows when sorrows lie deep in his breast. It's the way that he suffers, the griefs that he knows, that brings out his worst or his best. The test of a man is how much he will bear for a cause which he knows to be right. How long will he stand in the depths of despair? How much will he suffer and fight? There are many to serve when the victory's near, and few are the hurts to be borne, but it calls for a leader of courage to cheer the men in a battle forlorn. It's the way you hold out against odds that are great that proves what your courage is worth. It's the way that you stand to the bruises of fate that shows up your stature and girth. And victory's nothing but proof of your skill, veneered with a glory that's thin, unless it is proof of unfaltering will, and unless you have suffered to win. This is a long way to say, don't half-ass anything in life. If you're going to do something, commit and give it your full effort. Looking at the work and suffering I endured during training, what did an average day in my life look like? In the morning, I would wake up about 5 or 6. It's a battle for me to wake up early. I would jump into 40 minutes of weight training using dumbbells. Every day I would alternate between upper and lower body. When I finished, I would hop in the shower and be out at about 7 at the latest. I would get dressed and eat breakfast. This was usually protein, oatmeal, and a protein shake with coffee. Later in training, I began to take creatine to help build more muscle. I would then go to work, eat Japanese school lunch, and then come home. In the early days, I would work on a YouTube project and then go for a run. Later in the training, I was running longer distances and cycling after, so I couldn't invest in my YouTube and other projects quite as much. After the run, I would eat another meal I prepared and have another protein shake, then have a hot bath to soothe my muscles. After the bath, I would dry off and do stretches. Then I would go to bed early, usually around 9 p.m. Once every 4 to 5 days, I would meal prep breakfast and suppers for myself, making sure to eat a high protein and veggie diet and keeping carbs to a minimum. Although many runners can afford to eat tons of carbs, my metabolism is not so efficient. Besides, even though I was weightlifting, running 10K and biking 10K, I was still overweight. Losing weight and gaining muscle is always a goal of mine. If I was training as hard as I was and not losing weight, I wasn't eating properly. During times I was meal prepping, bathing, or stretching, I would listen to motivational videos on YouTube. It sounds cheesy, but they help solidify my will and help me create a mindset of productivity, positivity, and motivation. These videos help me piece together my discipline, and since I live alone, these videos were the people I came home to every day, who welcomed me, talked to me, and cheered me on. They also decried my weaknesses and ignored my excuses when I was tired, wanted to complain, or give up. When I was feeling angry, spiteful, or jealous, they told me to use that energy for good, to work harder, and focus on myself. They acted as my coaches and role models, and they reflect the values that I envisioned for my ideal self. Videos from David Goggins and Jocko Willink were the ones I listened to the most. 2 months before the marathon, I was doing 3 hours of active training every day, and I would try to push it to 4 on the weekends. Over a week, this amounted to a minimum of about 21 hours. So, near the end of my training, I dedicated almost a full day every week to intense, rigorous movement. It felt amazing. But disaster struck 3 weeks before the marathon, where I was knocked out by a wicked cold for 5 days. I must have picked it up while traveling for the Hokkaido ski trip. The first day I was sick, I managed to go running through the headache and cough, but by the second day, I couldn't even stand because I had a horrible fever and chills. It was so bad, I couldn't even get out of bed. But I worked hard to get better, devouring vegetable soup and orange juice to get back on my feet. In the second last week of marathon training, I pushed myself hard as a mental and physical test, running over 70K that week and cycling 40K on top. This was on top of weightlifting in the morning and working a full-time job. I was tired and sore by the end of the week, but I felt mentally and physically prepared. In the final week, I slowed my pace down to nearly nothing, doing walks instead of running and keeping the intense exercise to a minimum. It was a little difficult for me to sleep during this week as I had so much extra energy. My body ached with the urge to run, bike, or lift weights. I had to do a little light exercise to settle my nerves. The day before the marathon, I drove up to the city to ensure I would have a parking spot for the event and to pick up my marathon t-shirt ahead of time. I managed to get my slogan embroidered on the t-shirt, which is freaking sick. Marathon Eve, I stitched my race bib to my shirt, tied my race tracker to my shoe, and prepared my running kit. Inside that kit, I had a sports drink jelly, a carbohydrate jelly for refueling, and a protein bar. In hindsight, another jelly would have been better than the protein. I also stashed pain medication and upset stomach medication, and a little bit of money. And then I left room for my phone. That's all the gear I took with me. Throughout the final day, I ate carb-heavy food, mostly pasta and oatmeal, but I didn't overstuff myself. I also drank more water than I normally would to help hydrate. That night, I set my alarm and went to bed early. I slept surprisingly well. I had no dreams that I remember. I was living the dream. Then, before I knew it, marathon day arrived. I had put in all the training and preparation I could. Everything that could go wrong now was out of my control, so I didn't worry about it. It was time to fight.
Alright, it's about 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning. I've had breakfast. I got all my race gear on, so I'm ready to go. A little nervous, and it's kind of cold today, so I don't really want to wait around outside in the cold too much, but I think that's kind of inevitable. It's kind of about 8-ish degrees, but it's going to heat up to around like 17 degrees Celsius around probably kind of during the run. So can't really run the race with like a hoodie or something. You're just going to end up taking it off, and it will be probably annoying. So anyway, so I'm pretty stoked, even though I probably should be feeling tired, but I woke up an hour even before my alarm went off. So yeah, I think I'm ready. I'm good to go. Had breakfast, had a little bit of water, so I'm hydrated. So I'm gonna rock it.
Hello. So I've made it to the city, and I managed to find parking, which was a little bit difficult to do in the dark, but there's lots of parking spots available, thankfully, so I managed to steal one. I'm about 2 hours early for the race, which, I mean, it's kind of like a flight. You want to be early. You don't want to have some disaster happen and not be prepared to deal with it. So I got some time to kill, so I'll probably take a nap and maybe head out in about an hour and a half, kind of make my way over to the starting area. I made my way to the starting pens and messaged my friend my location. So you might be wondering, if this race is so personal to you, Tanner, if it's about conquering yourself, why did you run it with somebody else? I asked myself that question too. I thought about it for an entire day. I wasn't sure what the right answer was. Sometimes in life you are faced with an important decision like this, and the best way forward isn't obvious. In the end, I had a few good reasons to run with my friend. The main one was this. I had already conquered myself over the last 6 months. The marathon was a celebration of that training, a reflection of that effort, a test of personal discipline that I had developed. I was proud of how hard I fought already, so if a friend wanted to run alongside me and watch me deliver another KO to some of my personal demons, I'd give her a front row seat. I wasn't using her as a crutch or someone to impose discipline on me. Instead, I wanted to show her the results of my discipline, my willpower. I'll let the following footage speak for itself.
This is us before the marathon. We're still looking fresh and alive.
Us after won't be so fresh.
No. But here's some comparison.
I know what you want to do. Yeah, there you go. You did not resist the urge.
No, we couldn't.
Okay. Well, when we do the 100 kilometers,
Yeah.
please bring a running pack.
Yeah. Deal. Okay. That's fair.
Yeah, there we go. Get backed up. Do you? I feel like I'm marching to board. We're going.
頑張ってください。This is the 30-kilometer check-in. How are you doing, Tanner?
Not good.
Not good? Not good? Thought you were running a second marathon after this.
Yep, I am, but not directly after.
Every 2 to 3 kilometers, there were bathroom and water stops, and sometimes food stations which had chocolate or cream puffs. I was really thankful for the water. I sweat more than the average person, so I needed all the sports drink I could guzzle down, especially in the final 10K stretch. When we crossed the finish line, my friend and I cried. It was such a hard and painful adventure. We had both pushed ourselves well past our limits. When we had nothing left to give, we gave more, and even more than that. I felt such an intense sense of accomplishment. It's hard to explain. Over and over in my mind, I was thinking, that was so difficult, that was so hard, but I did it. I did it. I can't believe I overcame that. It's like the feeling of climbing a mountain and reaching the peak. I felt sore, hurt, physically and mentally exhausted, but most importantly of all, proud.
Hello. So I just finished the Kochi Ryoma Marathon and took the bus back to Kochi City. That was really tough. I'd say the first 20 kilometers was not too bad, and then after that it just kind of went downhill and it got really hard. My legs hurt. Didn't have a lot of water. Thankfully they had a lot of water stations, so I could hydrate a lot. My feet ended up being fine, didn't have any blisters or anything like that. My legs though, my legs definitely hurt. They ran out of stamina, so but I could keep the pace pretty consistent, I think, throughout the entire race, so that's pretty good. But yeah, that last, I'd say 10 kilometers was pretty brutal, and it was actually uphill to the station. The last kilometer was uphill, so we got to enjoy and suffer through that. There was actually a surprising amount of that course that was uphill, so I ended up walking up those sections, so it wasn't a problem. Yeah, although I did take some damage. I did get an injury, just like if you can see on my race bib, there's a little bit of blood there, so I did take some nip damage, unfortunately, but it can happen to runners. I think it happens mostly to men because they don't wear like a bra or something, that like a sports bra that would protect them. So I did cover my chest with band-aids, but it didn't end up mattering. So anyway, so this is my time. So I finished in 5 hours and 50 minutes according to the timesheet. According to my Strava, I finished in 5 hours and 30 minutes, but Strava just counts time running, so which might be more accurate. But so time I spent actually running was about 5 hours and 30 minutes, but the total time of the race, including like stopping to use the bathroom or like slowing down to grab water, or walking uphill, stuff like that, total time was 5 hours 50 minutes, which that's a long time. That's a battle, man. You're just suffering. You're more so suffering near the end, but you're suffering for like 6 hours. It's just 6 hours of just pain.
So, and yeah, it was really brutal, but I'm really proud because I didn't stop and walk except for the uphill portions, and the final uphill portion I actually ran. So that entire race I was running, and I passed like a ton of people who had to give up and start walking. So I felt really proud of that, proud of my, essentially my gambare. I didn't give up, and I didn't walk more than I had to. So I think I'm gonna head home and give myself a little bit of a celebratory meal, a hot bath, and then I'll probably make my way to bed and do some stretches or something before. So it's been an interesting day. I pushed myself harder than I've ever, and it was a great experience. Lots of suffering though, but it's a cool achievement. I'm glad I did it. I don't really feel like running a marathon anytime soon, or running anytime soon at all. I'm sick of running. But anyway, I'll catch you next time. Be bold. I suffered some minor injuries. I hadn't worn sunscreen during the marathon like an idiot, and I got a wicked, funny-looking sunburn. I wore it as a badge of my stupidity and a badge of pride. Students at school thought it was hilarious. I did too. My chest was sore from being rubbed to the point of bleeding again, but it healed over a couple days. My legs were weakened, and even a few days later, they were still creaking and wobbly from the exertion. Otherwise, I made it out of the ordeal uninjured. Given the man I used to be, running a marathon in a foreign country is something I'm proud of. That was challenging and fun. But I can't stop there. The question I'm asking myself now and forever is, what's next? Take care and be bold.